So I'm doing an interview today with
Eric Dixon,
of the
City of Hemet Police Department.
yes sir. So first question, what's your gender?
Boy, male,
How old are you?
52,
What's your race slash ethnicity?
white,
How many years in law enforcement do you have?
26 years in law enforcement, 1 year in private security.
What was your assignment during your time in the department?
I had lots of assignments. I worked in, managed, or supervised every part of the department. I started in patrol, and then on a problem-oriented policing type of team, and then I got involved with gang enforcement. I worked gangs and drugs, and then I promoted through the ranks, corporal, sergeant, lieutenant.
What was your highest rank that you achieved?
Lieutenant.
What's your education?
I have a bachelor's degree from California State, Fullerton.
And what type of agency was it?
Municipal Police Department, city.
Why did you become a police officer?
That's a tough one to answer. I went to college, graduated from college, and then I actually thought I wanted to be a firefighter. I knew I wanted to help people, as corny as that sounds. And then back then, it was very difficult to be hired as a firefighter. So I put myself through the police academy and got hired as a police officer and started in '97.
Did you find what you expected working in the department?
More than I expected. It was a very rewarding career. The biggest challenges weren't until later, and law enforcement's difficult in today's world. The expectations, I expected to be a peace officer, enforce laws, try to help people. I didn't expect to be a mental health therapist. I didn't expect to be a family counselor. I didn't expect, there's a lot of things. I became a homeless coordinator. There's a lot of things that I wasn't expecting that came with the job as it evolved over the years.
What was the worst part of your job and why?
The worst part really was there were a lot of things that should have been easy fixes that weren't. For instance, even when I started, people would go to jail for committing a crime. If you got in a fight with your significant other and caused injury, you went to jail. But even back then, a lot of that was dependent upon the victim wanting to be a victim. And I used to get very frustrated when some guy would beat the crud out of his wife, and then she would, no, I don't want to press charges, I love him, and I would keep seeing the cycle over and over. Later on in my career, the same frustration played out, but for different reasons. Now they decriminalized everything, or many things. And so now here's somebody that needs to go to jail, and yet they don't go to jail, they don't spend any significant amount of time in jail. And so it was very frustrating. These problems were fairly easy to solve. However, as a society, we didn't fix them.
What was the best part of your job and why?
Best part of my job was helping people. I very much enjoyed the purpose. Like I said, as ridiculous as it sounds, I look back with fondness on there were people I legitimately helped or even saved. I've saved lives. I've been able to help people get out of situations. Even more recently, like I said, working as a homeless coordinator, getting somebody off the streets and into housing. They make you feel good. It was very important for me to help people. And when it actually worked out, I felt very, very good about it.
So you worked through COVID-19, right?
Yep.
So what were some of the difficulties working in law enforcement during that time?
The unknown was the biggest difficulty. Our department, and I think some department, I don't know what all the departments did. Our department, we implemented a schedule where, because in the beginning, you got to figure we didn't know what to expect, how to deal with it or whatever. So we actually divided the department into three parts, 3 or 4 parts. And you worked an entire 7 days straight. And then your platoon, for lack of a better term, was off for 2 weeks. That way, if somebody got sick, they weren't taking down the entire department. So you were working the whole time, and then you were off for 2 weeks. So if you did get sick, you had 2 weeks to recover, and you weren't, because that was our biggest fear, especially in the beginning. We didn't know how bad it was. One person gets sick and wipes out the entire department, and obviously we can't have that in public safety. So we almost from the beginning split the department and moved to this schedule so that we could continue to effectively provide law enforcement. The challenges we ran into personnel wise were we had a lot of officers that were afraid to go. Somebody would call, hey, I need help, a regular law enforcement call, whatever it is. I need help getting off the floor, whatever. But our dispatchers were screening everybody calling, because our dispatch also dispatched fire, and they had an entire list of questions. Have you been sick? Have you traveled? Have you had a fever? Blah, blah, blah. And so after it was going on for a little while, you'd have people calling up and, no, I have coronavirus right now. And so now you've got first responders that are afraid, isn't maybe the right term, but they're all of a sudden hesitant now to go into a situation because they know going in, it's not a surprise. Hey, we know in the back of our mind, every call we go on to might be our last call. But this one, going into it, hey, you're going into a freaking hazmat situation. And so it was scary in the beginning. And so it was a unique challenge. We had good PPE, good masks. And then as we learned more about it and different protocols, all of it went away. But in the beginning, it was scary, or like I said, scary may not be the right term, but it was difficult.
Are skills such as interviewing important?
Yes, you have to be able to interview not only suspects, but also your victims, and even witnesses. And often you need a different interview skills for the different kind of person you're dealing with. I'm going to interview a hardened gangster a lot differently than I'm going to interview a victim of domestic violence or a victim of sexual assault. You have to be able to shift gears also. So I may be asking you questions with one mindset, and you'll say something that will, oh gosh, I've got to change gears and go a different direction. Or maybe the rapport that I'm trying to build with you isn't working, so I need to shift gears and try to come at you a different direction. And so you've got to be able to recognize what works, what's not working, and how to talk to people, for lack of a better term. Good guys, bad guys, witnesses, you've got to be able to talk to them and gain cooperation without, I've known a lot of people, I know you have too, they just